We have made it to the end of the season. This is episode 13 of season 7, and this is going to be our last one for the season. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels like it's been a very, very long year. That's me passing off to you to get some backup.
Year,
Yeah, no, I feel like we get to the end of these seasons. Like, don't get me wrong, I love doing the show, I really do. But we get to the end of the season, and I'm just like, you know what? I get what holidays are for now. I understand why people take a break occasionally. There's a lot of work.
It's the hardest part for me is just stopping, because for you guys it's still kind of in the morning. And I work best in the morning, but it's like right before lunch for me, and I'm like stopped in the middle of the day. And for me, any appointment in the middle of the day, I avoid it like the plague, because it just stops your whole workflow. And so while I love talking to you guys and doing the podcast, it just throws my day into turmoil every time we record.
Yeah. Well, I've just said to the guys, I might have to take a phone call in the middle of this, because this is part of the workday, and unfortunately stuff comes up. I've got someone collecting some old chairs that are fixed up for him. Last week with Jem, we were talking about doing jobs that, taking on all work, doing jobs that you don't necessarily want to do. And I had a guy call me up. He got referred to me from someone else. He's got those old, those dining room chairs that you see in absolutely every single grandparent's house, with the curves and all the detail on it. And they're such a bad design. They all do the same thing. Either the four legs pop out of the supports, or the back goes. Yeah. And he literally asked me, can I tighten up all the screws in it? Because he's like 80 and he doesn't have the desire to do it. Yeah. And it was 6 chairs. And I said, yep, cool. Bring it over. We'll call it $100. It won't take me that long. And but now my workshop has been filled with 6 dining chairs while I try and get these back to him. Yeah. But yeah, $100 feels like he got a pretty good deal. And the problem with $100 is, this is gonna sound so obnoxious, but who works for $100? Who does a job for $100? Yeah, right. But it does feel like, without sounding obnoxious and disrespectful, it does feel like a waste of time.
Yeah, I hate doing cashy kind of jobs like that, because you end up with cash in hand, and I hardly ever need cash. And so I end up with this couple of notes in my pocket for weeks, and they go through the washing machine and all sorts of
It's such a misnomer, isn't it, that cash jobs help a small business? It just doesn't.
So I did and I've got a story, and I want to find out from you guys. So last weekend, I've been refinishing a guy's 2 tables in his house, and it was a $900 job. So not a small job, well, by my standards. And at the end of when I finished up, he said, "Oh, let me go get you the cash." And I said, "No, I'd rather can you just transfer the money?" He said, "Oh, I took the cash out for you. I'd assumed you would have preferred the cash." Now, we all understand the tax implications of of taking a cashie. I still don't see the besides from a tax perspective, I still don't see the big draw for it, because surely all you're doing is undermining your business. Because at the end of the day, I want to see over a year that I've had a particular turnover to say whether my business is working on. Why would I want to discredit that?
There's a lot to unpack with this, I think, actually, because there's the whole legal ramifications, but then there's also just common decency and respect. There's a whole lot of different things on both parties to think about. So I don't know where to start.
This last episode went in a direction quick.
So I've had it quite often where people say, "Oh, can we just do it cash?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't mind if you pay in cash, but that doesn't mean you get it cheaper." There is an implication that paying cash means you don't have to pay the GST tax, or what is it? GST or VAT for you guys?
GST in
GST,
Australia, the equivalent of VAT in
England.
UK, or sales tax in America.
Yeah. So here it's 15%. It used to be 12.5, which was much more palatable. Anyway, now we're at 15, and so you say, okay, well, $100 job, that's what, minus $15. No one's really saving anything here. Okay, it does add up when you're talking about bigger jobs, but you don't do big jobs as cashies either. And so recently I actually had this happen where I built this little plywood box for this guy's van so he could take his camping stuff in his van, and it was like $700. And he goes, "Do you mind if I pay cash?" And I was like, "Sure, here's the bill." But then he gave me like way less than it was meant to. And I was like, where's the other like $300 or whatever it was? Oh, I thought we were doing cash. And it's like, well, yeah, no, you can pay cash. I just have to go to the bank and bank it. It's just another step, but I'll still take the money. So there's this weird implication that, do you mind breaking the law so I can get a small discount? And then I'm left with cash I can't put it in the bank.
That's the whole thing. It's like, it's requiring you to do more effort to do the right thing, to bank it. So it's like, okay, we'll charge you more for cash.
Yeah, totally.
Because like, you don't pay your overheads in cash. Like, they're all coming direct debit out of your business accounts. So you kind of need that job money in there. Like Robin said, like $100. Yeah, maybe you would take a cash job. Yeah. But the second that it starts getting up to
$900,
even anything over, I don't know, $400 or $500, like, there's a GST there that is going to affect your BAS in Australia, like if you're registered for GST. So I don't know. Yeah.
Now, this is the interesting thing. Now, I'm not registered for GST because my turnover is still so low. So I guess that's where it does become a little bit even more murky.
Yep.
Yes, but also, and it's a good thing to bring up, is that when I buy materials, I have to pay GST on the materials. And the tax system enables me to claim back all or portion of that GST through the annual taxation of businesses. Yep. And it's a bit of a swings and roundabouts game. Money comes in, money goes out, and it kind of spirals around. But if you stop that kind of tax flow, I pay that GST on the plywood for the job, but I don't get paid that GST portion from the customer if they pay cash. And so suddenly the job just costs me more.
Right.
So your margin shrinks.
Yeah. And so if
that is the best description, Joey, I've heard of why businesses should register for GST.
Oh yeah. I mean, because you can't play the tax game if you're not registered. You can't do deductions.
Now, obviously, if you are a small enterprise, like I'll probably look when I start teaching, doing 3-4 days in a school, I probably will then look to unregister for GST. But the second year turnover, I think the threshold in Australia is 75,000. Is that right, Robin?
That sounds.
I haven't looked at it in a long while.
No, I thought it was more like 18,000. Because I'm right on the cusp of it.
Right.
So I'm going to be having that conversation.
That's slightly different, isn't it? That's the tax-free threshold for you as an individual. But I think once your business revenue gets above, I think it's 75,000, then you're automatically registered for GST by the ATO. I think.
Okay.
That seems really high. I think in
still
New
way
Zealand
off there.
it's 25 grand or something like that. Once you turn over 25 or 30,000, they're like, right, we need to take the tax from you.
Right. Okay.
But so when people say they want, I'm just trying to think of the circumstance. It's a little bit tricky. But with export, this is going into the weeds a little bit. But if I make a product and sell it overseas, because the product is not staying in the country, I can deduct the GST portion for their customer. But that doesn't mean you don't charge them any GST, because they still have, well, you as the maker still have to buy materials that include GST. You can't just take the GST off at the end, because then you're shooting yourself in the foot, because you have to pay that. So you can only deduct the GST from your labor, the things that you haven't bought as a good or service. So let's say it's $1,000 worth of plywood plus 15%. And what is that? Some amount, $150 of GST. I still have to charge them that GST in the invoice, but not the GST on my labor, which is not an actual physical thing. So it becomes
where was that advice for me, Joey, the first time that I sent something to America?
Right.
Who's helping you with all this, Joe? Because that sounds like some pretty
that's me,
inside baseball.
Yeah, well, that's me having to work it out, kind of head in the sand, and my wife helping in the background as well, like reading through god awful like New Zealand government websites, and would ring our accountant and be like, what the hell do we do with GST when this shit's got to go overseas?
You got an accountant, good call.
And they say some random words to us, and then we're Googling those words, trying to figure out what she means. And then we're like, okay, we kind of understand it. And then when you do it 3 or 4 times, and then you get a better idea of the system. But yeah,
and there's obviously like the implication as well, Joey, with the overseas stuff, there's sales tax at the other end.
Right.
Now, I know that Australia Post suspended all shipments to America of commercial goods.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's resumed or not, but there was always the worry when you're sending stuff to America, like every state has its own import tax.
Right.
And sales
duties,
tax.
yeah.
So yeah, you got to be super clear with customers when you are sending stuff overseas.
Yeah. So do you pay that sales tax before it gets sent?
It's paid on entry usually.
It's the client.
And who pays it? Oh, the client. Okay.
The client, but you have to really affirm with them that, my price is
liable. Yeah.
this is the price of the good landed in a port in America.
Okay, I've heard about this, because isn't this why when you buy stuff from China or anywhere overseas, you might get a call from customs?
Yeah.
Is this what they're calling you for, to pay for that tax? Potentially.
It's usually in Australia, if it exceeds the threshold, I think it's $1,000 or something.
That's what I was just going to say.
Around that way. Whereas in America, it's nothing. Like, you're literally sending in a $25, $30 thing. So long as it's a commercial good, you're hit with a sales tax.
Interesting. Yeah, so there are thresholds here. Import from Australia, I believe, is $800 I can import without having to pay duties on it. I used to import a lot of stuff like veneers. Back in the day, I was doing a lot more, and the threshold was $2,000, and then they started bringing it down. Now I think it's about $800, no matter where you're bringing something in for. The problem is that you then have to pay for, what do they call it? There's 3 people who've got to touch this stuff before you get your hands on it. And essentially you've got the customs guy rings you and says, have you got an business import code? Luckily I have, because the first time I had this happen, I had to get one. And you have to pay a barrister or lawyer to sort that out for you. They sort it out for you, and you just say, please, can you get me a code? Yep. And we're just going to send you a bill for it. So you just get a random bill from some random lawyer and a number to say, this is your import code. And then you pay them this horrendous GST bill, handling fee, unpacking fee, whatever, lunch break fee. And then they pack it all back up and send it to you. And it just costs you like an extra $1,000 to get it from the port to your house.
Wow.
So
I remember New Zealand is one of the worst countries to send to for an Australian. I sent my mom a coffee table for her birthday one year, and it arrived to her basically. Well, sorry, it didn't arrive to her. She just got a phone call saying, "This is, I don't know, import agent in Auckland. We just need your credit card details to approve this $1,600 fee." And I was like, "What?"
Bill,
Yeah, and the first thing you're going to do is say,
Mom.
not a chance. Yeah. You're going to have to think of a better scam than that.
The trick is to, when you pack it, tell them that it's like worth $10 or something.
I know.
And then that helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to confirm, I have Googled that. It is a $75,000 tax turnover. Sorry, a turnover that then rules you into being registered for GST, and you don't have to do that. ATO will automatically do it.
But then what's the tax-free threshold?
Tax-free threshold for you is as a sole trader. So if you earn less than $18,000, you don't pay any tax on it.
Right. I see. Tax-free.
So when you register for GST, it's what Joey's saying. So you collect GST and you pay GST. So every quarter you have to balance those two numbers. So if there's one quarter where you have a lot of incomings and not many outgoings, you might have to pay the difference. You might be down $1,000 or $2,000 to the ATO. And then the next quarter, it might be the other way around.
And this is
you don't have to do that until you register for GST. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Business always.
That's why you're going to run your phone bill, your internet bill, all that stuff that you use at home, Robin, for your business. You're going to charge your business for it.
And so that's New Zealand has a. I can't believe we're talking about tax and GST, and
I know what a final episode.
Yeah. But
sorry, everyone.
In New Zealand, they do this thing called provisional tax, where they take your annual earnings from last year and they say, well, you're a business, you must be going to increase it by 2%. So next year we know pretty much what you're going to earn, and you have to start paying your GST a year ahead in quarters.
Yep, they've done that to me before.
And you're like, but wait, this year's way worse than last year, and you've got this huge tax bill and fuck all work come in. So that is a problem.
Yeah, that happened to me one year.
You have to wait till the following tax year to get it rebated to you.
And then you get a rebate at the end of the year. And so we got 16 grand back, which was nice. But,
Yeah, I had one really good year. And exactly what you said, Joe. They were like, oh, this is the trajectory. Yep. And I just about broke my back the next year trying to pay off bullshit money that I knew was just going to come straight back to me.
I mean, that's the best part. At least you're going to get it, but it's like eventually. So anyway, so at the end of the day, making cashiers can be problematic no matter what size business you have. I think taking the cash, and maybe it's a good idea in quoting and stuff, which is something I've not ever done, but now that I'm saying it, to actually give your clients at the time of quoting some payment types, acceptable payment and terms, right at the start, so they know what they're in for and how to do it.
If you want to pay cash, it's an extra 5%.
It's an extra 20%.
Because I got to take it to the bank. Call it a surcharge, isn't that the lingo?
The bank is going to charge you for taking the money now.
Yeah,
it's not exactly a free service. Like, it'll probably cost you $20 to take the money into the bank and put it into your account.
Yeah.
Like, you imagine if you went to a timber yard with $5,000 and just load me up with plywood, boys, they'd look at you like you were crazy.
Yeah, and I bet they don't even have cash on hand themselves.
Wouldn't have thought so. Yeah. Anyway, right, let's move on from tax and talk about something more exciting for our final episode.
Didn't you have... Yeah, I was going to say, Joe, didn't you have something you wanted to talk about?
I'm going to bring up, because we talked to Jim, and before the show a little bit, Robin was just talking about this as well. And we talked to Jim last week about taking on jobs that you shouldn't and knowing when to pass. And I just got an offer a little while ago, I made 30 cedar doors that were louvered. That included about 2,500 louvers that I touched 4 times each. So he sent me an email and said, do you want to make some more, slightly bigger, and some of them will be big arched top kind of louvered gizmos, about 120 of them, and ready for export, and I was just like, did some quick maths. For a start, that's over 10,000 louvers, and then like I was just thinking of the quantities of timber, and then I was like, okay, roughly those doors are going to be about $1,000 each. That's over $100,000 job, and I can't do that. I'm not going to just become a door maker for someone else to then put a markup on it and profit. That's not really my business. So I just said thanks, but no thanks. I do not want to be doing those kind of quantities.
What about at that level, when we're talking that much money, that size scale, that's where you go and find a commercial space for 3 months, and you set up like a run for 3 months to get it all done, and then you shut it down?
Well, I guessed it would take me 3 months, so good guess. I think there's way too much cost in that.
Right, you don't think
I'm already set up. I've got, if anything, I could hire a couple of guys, but it's still my workshop completely only making doors for 3 months. And the irony is...
I was saying more like you outsource it.
Yeah. But
you oversee it.
I don't want to be a boss of someone else making these hard to make things, and then I'm QCing it all, and then the client then comes and QCs it on top of that, and it's like, no, that's just asking for headaches.
When you're cut on that $100,000 job, if you did outsource it, might only equate to, I don't know, 20 grand or something like that. Yeah, it's probably not worth the stress.
I seriously considered it for literally 5 minutes. I was like, shit, I could buy a new car, but then no, I'm not going to do that. And what's funny is, in my experience, whenever these sorts of jobs come along, when you take them, you immediately regret them because everything doesn't quite work out as rosy as you thought it would.
Blackbird. Oh, sorry.
And
had something in your throat there, Brian. I think it was a blackbird in your throat.
Yeah, I think it was.
And when you deny the work, whatever you want to say, and in this case, which has just happened to me, like immediately 3 other really awesome jobs just popped up.
Oh, cool.
Which I would never have been able to touch if I had just taken on this gigantic
That's cool.
This job. And the jobs that I'm quoting on now are so awesome. I'm like, I want a time machine to like get to the point where I can get on and make them because they're going to be fun. So that, to me, that is kind of that karma thing to a certain degree. I don't know if I believe in karma, but it seems to happen when you are honest with yourself, honest with the client, and just say, look, it's not for me. Something good will come around the corner.
Well, that's literally one of the shorts that I cut from the episode, which will be up on YouTube eventually, sometime this week, of Jem saying, as soon as you take on a job, you are limiting every other job. And that is something, when you have that mentality of just take on everything, you are limiting yourself. Yeah. How did they take you saying no?
It was a very short email. It's like, thanks.
Oh, okay. So not they don't sound happy then. Joey don't give shit.
I was nice and I said no thanks. I'm not sure what else you can say.
Yeah, fair enough. But I mean, more from the perspective of trying to hold on to, if you've got a client who's wanting to spend $100,000 on you, you don't want to burn that bridge.
Look, not all bridges lead to nice places. Sometimes you get to a swamp. So,
Coming with the metaphors today. Love it.
Are you going to make one of those awful motivational signs with that on it, please, Joey?
Some bridges lead to swamps.
Yeah. Some bridges need burning. They are infested with the plague.
Yeah, right.
Well, you took away my next thought. I don't know what I was going to say.
My apologies. All this bridge talking. Yeah. Well.
Oh,
go.
Yeah. So something to be wary of, as I still consider I am a small business. It's just me. If you are a small business, 1 or 2 man band, and you start getting inquiries from pretty large businesses asking for gigantic jobs, have a really good hunt around, call some other people in the industry, because if they've got to the bottom of the list of people who can do the work and they're getting down to where you are, because I know there are guys way bigger than me who could take on some of these jobs.
Easily.
Speaking of burnt bridges, there's a reason they haven't gone to some of those other bigger guys.
Good point.
Often, I've run into it a couple of times, the bridges have been burnt and there's no longer a working relationship. And so they're just trying to find someone who can do the work, and they don't care about it. They just need the work done. And then they can treat you how they want to treat you, and you'll end up being burnt as well, and they'll move on. And so that is something to be wary of, with which I've found a couple of times with larger companies. You're like, why did you come to me? And you really think about that.
Yeah, almost take the rose tint glasses off. They might not have come to you because you have the Swankers website.
Yeah, it's
it
not
could be more
necessarily
nefarious.
your quality. You're the guy who you haven't heard of them yet.
Cool. So what are the other jobs then that are going to take its place?
I got this inquiry. This guy found me on YouTube, and is actually, I think, American, living here now, and they've got an old bungalow. And I had a pretty good chat with him on the phone, and they want a really kind of different kitchen, like a real timber kitchen. And we had a pretty cool talk about it. And he just this morning sent me through, like, he sketched up this whole house. So I've got like a 3D model of the whole house, and like the best brief you've ever had, like pages of photographs and descriptions of what they want and how they want to use the space. And like pretty much I don't have to do any work. I can just use their drawings, but it's just such an awesome, it's going to be a very modern take on a craftsman style authentic timber kitchen, and I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah,
More
cool.
fun than building louvered doors.
Oh man, tell you what.
Yeah.
So that'll be plywood, obviously, with some
I'm not sure
solid
how we're
trim.
going to go. There's a lot of solid stuff, but also a lot of veneered stuff. And we talked briefly a couple of episodes ago that recently I had a price for veneered plywood at like $600 or $700 a sheet.
Doesn't surprise me.
Absolutely bonkers. Nobody's going to pay for that. So it might mean that I have to go to use MDF for a lot of it.
One of the things that I was told by the lumber yard where I was buying very, very expensive Tassie oak veneered ply, everyone's using laminate now. Is that popular in New Zealand?
What do you mean everyone's using laminate? Like, what do you mean?
So you're building a vanity with, normally you'd use veneer plywood draw fronts. People just go with laminates, so it's a timber pattern, laminate on particle board, or MDF. I'm not sure, but the idea is you don't look for a particular style of timber or plywood. You go with, in this case, the brand is Polytech. Yeah. You go to Polytech and get a Polytech white oak.
Yeah, that is around, but I wouldn't say that it's popular. The problem.
Did you hear my heart breaking over the microphone just there, Rob?
Yeah.
It's awful. It is.
It's my soul exiting my body.
What a cool niche to be able to say I do solid timber in that space. If you want the real deal,
it's very difficult. I've had this before with clients who really were just heart set on a solid timber kitchen, and then you've got to have this discussion where you say, look, in the 1930s, there was no such thing as built-in kitchens. It was like nailed, maybe there was some built-in cupboards. They were all nailed to the walls, nailed to the floor. Everything was just kind of built in place, and they'd chuck something on top as a workbench. Before that, everything was completely freestanding, just like a table with some drawers in it, a hutch or some kind of something to hold a vessel of water. And then, it wasn't until plywood, 1930s, plywood particle board started being invented in the 30s, and you started having cabinets built, like full square things. And right from the start, a lot of them were not timber. They were either paint finished or vinyl finished, or it would be like some blockboard core, and it would have some, like a veneer on it, maybe. But in order to have, so even the first true built-in kitchens, they had to be built of something that wasn't real wood, because they have to allow for wood movement. You can't have modern drawer runners and solid timber boxes that are all screwed together and screwed to the wall and have to be stable and do all the things they have to do. And so it's very difficult to explain to someone succinctly why you can't just glue bits of wood up and make a box and screw it together and expect it to function like if it was plywood.
But I feel like there's also a gradient, though. On the one end, you've got solid wood, but then on the other end, you've got, and this is a personal opinion, on the other end, you've got particle board. And if you go plywood, you're in between there. You're not
wood. Yeah.
It's still wood. So I would still class a timber kitchen. Mm-hmm. I would still class plywood as a timber kitchen.
Yeah.
Because you are still timber. It's still actual timber.
And I think that's the best argument for clients like that. But I keep saying but because I've had it where clients say, no, plywood off gases, whatever things, gas, blah, blah. I don't want anything like that in my house. I want solid pine carcass units glued up and screwed together.
Okay.
And I did it for one client and it just was not good. I learned really quick why you can't offer that because everything turns into bananas. Nothing works. Drawers jam, shit's bowing all over the show. So it's a tricky one. People want that old timey feel of an authentic timber, nice warm kitchen, but you have to give them some stability in there somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is, but I know it's a difficult nut to crack.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's why you try and that whole little history lesson that you've given us there about what it was like before the 1930s. I didn't realize that was the case. So I guess if you can try and incorporate freestanding solid wood, that's a way to go.
Yeah, I mean, you could essentially do that. But the trick is you always have to somehow marry that together with dishwashers, fridges, ovens. They've all got this certain spec about,
and they're all built-in
requirements, all this stuff.
Free.
If you've got a cooktop, you've got to have extraction, a rain chute above it, and how is all that made to comply with the installation instructions of like 6 different appliance manufacturers as well, and it becomes nightmarish.
Yeah. Oh well. I'm potentially going to be. It is what it is. I'm potentially going to be working with that Polytech later this year for the first time.
Okay.
Someone wants a TV unit made, and it's a wall hung TV. It'll be my first wall hung TV unit. Just a simple drawers, maybe 400 high, but on the ends it's got these quarter round curves, and it's been fantastic. Most of this year, I feel like I've been doing so much curves with, and working with bendy ply and all that it's the client doesn't actually realize, but I've been almost training for this project when it comes up later this year. Hopefully, if it does actually come up.
I've had occasion to work with that kind of stuff, and what's always stopped me is how to deal with the edge banding of it. Because sometimes that's what the client wants. You can make a little box and charge them some money. Fine, you earn some money for your family. But my problem is, unless you've got a legit edge bander, I don't know how you deal with it without damaging the edge. Like, how do you slice it off or sand it or do whatever you have to do? With timber veneer, you can rub sandpaper all over it and then you're still finishing it. That's fine. You've got plenty of grace in there to make it look good. I have always just kind of said no to work where I have no idea how you're actually going to make that look any good.
Don't tell me that now.
Yeah, without the proper machinery, it's difficult. I mean, it's probably doable, but bloody, you're going to spend some time cleaning up those edges.
It is. It's like working with film face ply or something like that, like black film face ply. Like the second that it comes into your workshop, you're just shit scared of like the slightest scratch on it.
Yeah.
Like working with solid timber is so much less stressful in that sense.
100%.
And black stuff typically doesn't. All of these products typically don't scratch. I don't know what you call it, but it's like a mark across the finish, and you can't rub it off. But it's not scratched. But God knows it's not moving. And it's a pain in the butt.
It like changes the sheen of it.
Yeah, like burnishes it or something.
Yeah.
Well, this particular project, the pieces are relatively small, so I might be calling up my mate who's got a CNC, and we might work together on this to look at cutting parts out with the CNC, because obviously that's the best way to cut this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's the way the pros would do it. So,
well,
the smaller bits.
Yeah, CNC it, send it to a cabinet shop with an edge bander, and then you can assemble it to your heart's desire. But at least you don't have to deal with getting hot glue, melt glue all over the bloody shop.
Yeah. So how's the studying going, Bryan?
Yeah, do you see the bags under my eyes? Yeah.
Hardcore.
It's pretty hardcore, yeah. It's just assignment central at the minute. Like I said, it's really interesting, and I'm learning a lot from it. I start my first school placement in 3 weeks' time.
Whoa!
Right before? Oh, actually, no. I guess that's just fourth term.
Just
holidays.
the first week after school holidays. So that's an observational placement. I've been assigned to, I think, the biggest school in Ballarat. Okay. So, yeah, it's going to be...
Do you know anything about it?
Of fire. I don't know anybody that teaches there. I know teachers at probably 5 or 6 other schools in Ballarat, but not that one. It appears to be a good school.
I was going to ask, are there any rumors, any whisperings about the quality of clientele?
It's an old school. It's pretty mixed demographic. My son actually plays futsal in there on Saturday mornings, so I'm familiar with the campus. But this afternoon, I've actually got a tour of the school. So, yeah, I'm excited. Like, it feels as though it's progressing to something. And then I just have to be careful not to look back and go, oh, yeah, I've only been doing it for 3 months and I've got 18 months of this to go.
And so, from the observational perspective, is that in the workshop class?
So
or
I think
more
they
general?
Want you to spend. You've got a mentor teacher in your subject area. I'm still not entirely sure whether they're going to put me in design technology or visual arts, communications, or float across all of them. But the idea is that during the observational period, you can go and see as many different teachers as possible to try to observe different teaching styles and different subjects. Yeah. So,
okay, so you could end up
feel with how a school operates, really.
Yeah, so you could end up in the math class and the science class, and
pretty much, yeah. To just see how different teachers teach.
So I always was curious: is it something like med school where you are taught an overall stuff, and then you somehow get taught
specialized,
maybe how to teach your special interest, or I don't know
how. A lot of it is a broad overview of teaching. So there's a heavy focus. I think one of the things that was lacking in Australian education through the 90s was sort of really taking on applied learning. So applied learning is like learning through doing and learning with your hands and all those kind of like stuff that we do naturally in our jobs. So for me, I found that quite, it all like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like, oh yeah, of course I'd teach it this way. Like, I don't think there's another way to teach it. And when I look back on the way I was taught design and technology, I was definitely taught in an applied learning sense. You were allowed to make mistakes. And then the teacher would say, well, what do you reckon you can do to fix it? As opposed to direct instruction, which is like, oh, you've made a mess of that. Do this to fix it. So that's the gross simplification of it. But
that's interesting.
But yeah, it is a very broad overview, and then it's on me to apply that to my own subject area. So I'm not being taught anything about, design, technology, welding, 3D printing, any of that kind of stuff, which, cool. I feel fairly confident with it anyway. Like, but yeah, I think the idea is that you're going to learn that on the placement next year, where you're actually a teaching placement.
Right.
So we'll see. They might get me to teach a couple of classes in this observational thing, which is fine. Like, I'm not nervous about doing that, but yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, because I guess at that level, so this is a high school, right? That you're going to.
High school, yeah.
Yeah. If you're in primary school, and this is obviously not, I don't mean to downplay what primary school teachers do, because like prep teachers they are the most hardcore teachers in the whole schooling career, in my opinion.
They are saints.
Yeah. But I guess with primary school, that connection that you can make with the kids is so much easier than at high school when you're dealing with attitude and shitheads and that kind of thing.
Yeah. I don't think we're allowed to use the terminology shitheads, Robin.
Is it not approved?
Yeah,
not in the manual.
I don't think it's department approved.
That's a shame, isn't it?
Yeah. But I don't know. I'm kind of hoping, like, I'm going to be teaching middle years high school to start with, like in this observational period, because VCE students will be sort of done with the subjects by now. Really, they'll be kind of getting ready for their exams. So next year will be my first real opportunity to teach later year students, and I'm hoping that because they've selected the subject leading into whatever vocation they're wanting, that they are a bit more motivated, or they're disengaged with other subjects, like, you know, kids with different learning. I don't know, people that, like I'm saying, like people that learn with their hands, or, you know, potentially want to go into a trade background or something like that, like, rather than being particularly academic. So I'm hoping that, like, I don't think it's hard to really motivate people to make things if they're there because they enjoy making things. It's just about guiding them towards the right projects that suit their skill set or suit their design style, something like that. So we'll see. Like, again, I don't really know how much freedom I'm going to have. Like, it appears, you know, the department will set you TLAs, ILOs. Like, I'm having to learn all these bloody acronyms. I've always lived in a world without acronyms. Even in architecture, they're there, but I always tried to minimize my interactions with them. Like, you just call a thing what it is. Don't use an acronym to, you know, make yourself sound smarter. Teaching is full of acronyms. So yeah, the curriculum will set out all these standards that you have to meet, and then you have to create a lesson plan and show why it adheres to the standards and where it ticks boxes. So
yeah,
I think there is a lot of freedom in it, but there's a lot of work in, you know, if you want to do something different, you have to then evidence it. So, yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see in a couple of years' time, when we do this show, if we're still doing it in a couple of years' time, how your opinion has changed on this, because I can't remember if it was this season or last season. We fell into a conversation where we were fairly critical about the schooling system, about how it works, and what the teachers can and can't do in workshop class. And I don't think I ever told you guys this. We got a pretty scathing email afterwards from someone who basically said, you guys need to pull your heads out. As teachers, we are given very strict requirements. It's all about safety. And in his defense, I couldn't argue the point. He was 100% right in what he was saying, as he was a teacher. So I could only read the email and say, yeah, fair point. But it'll be interesting to see if you have fallen into that camp in a couple of years.
It depends on what your school is. You know, it depends on the environment you teach. Like, there's great public schools, there's great private schools, there's shit public schools, there's shit private schools. So I guess it depends on your department head, and also the type of funding that gets allocated to your subject. Like, I don't know whether we haven't had him on the show before, and I haven't really seen him posting much of late. But Ben Percy, do you know Ben Percy?
No.
So he operated a design studio for a while, but he was mainly a teacher. All the Wood Review student awards that won, like, every single student was pretty much his student for 4 or 5 years.
Cool.
Wow.
And the quality of work that was being produced was, like, I've only seen it in photographs. I haven't seen them in person. But one of the Wood Reviews that I judged for the students, the quality was amazing. Like, you're talking professional level furniture, and a very different style in each one. So this is not him imparting his own style on the students. It's clearly, it's a school that supports the teacher and teachers that support the students. So like I'm fully aware that there are a lot more OH&S requirements than when we were students. The types of things that I was allowed to do in design technology probably don't fly anymore. Or if they do, they require a teacher to be standing over the student, making sure that they're implementing safe work practices. Whereas I was allowed to kind of just like, with welding, we were using angle grinders and stuff like that you just couldn't do with students anymore.
It's a shame.
For good reason.
Well, yeah, it is. It's for good reason, but maybe for not good reason. I'm on the fence about how to word any of this, but I think in general the over I don't know,
mollycoddling.
Yeah, just the intense focus on safety before the project. It's like safety is before the project. And so on one hand, all of us can say, yeah, we should all be safe. But on the other hand, you say, but that safe, the over emphasis on safety is directly impeding on anybody's ability to proceed with creativity. And
it's so tough.
Yeah.
I was talking to a teacher who said, their VCE students weren't allowed to use the table saw unassisted. Right. So that requires a teacher. So there might be 2 teachers in a class of, I don't know, 18 students.
Yeah.
Or a tech and a teacher. So it's like, how do you provide that service? So therefore, they're just not able to do it. So you do all the cutting for them. Mm-hmm. What do they learn by that? But then they can use a router or a router table. And it's like, well, who's created the risk assessment that a table saw is more dangerous than that?
Yeah, some could argue the other way. And also, we should just mention, and again, this is harking back to the email, we're not talking about teachers here. We're talking about what's set out by the federal government about what they can and can't teach. Yeah, it's the system, not the teachers.
We're talking about the man.
Yeah. But there is a discrepancy, a huge discrepancy between what is considered a safe tool and it's not. And when I went to high school, we were not allowed to use the table saw. Only the teacher could, but we could have at the bandsaw all day long. Now, in my opinion, they are the same amount of risk, but that's me. And so I don't really see. In fact, I would say that the bandsaw could quite easily be more dangerous.
Really?
When I've got a young guy working for me, and when he uses a bandsaw, often the blade is right up, the guard is right at the top, so you've got like 300 mil of blade exposed, and you're cutting a little bit of plywood. That's asking for disaster.
Yeah, that's 300 mil of accident waiting to happen.
That's just a little wave of the hand, and bang, you've lost your fingers. Now, any little wave of the hand over a blade, you're going to lose your fingers. But typically, the table saw blade is wound down to just above the workpiece that you're using, and it's pretty difficult to touch a table saw blade. It's, I think, a lot easier to be a lot more blasé about a bandsaw because it's not as loud. It doesn't seem as powerful. It's, it just seems like a safer tool, but I don't think it is.
I'll never forget the first time with a bandsaw when this was in the early days when I can't remember what the scenario was, but I engaged the piece without it being on the table. And the speed at which it slammed that into the table scared the shit out of me, and it just changed my whole much more respect for the bandsaw than I had at that point.
I think kids should have to do.
Yes.
Right, let's get the bandsaw running. Let's hold this meter-long stick, and now just try and cut it in the middle of the blade, and watch all these bits of wood slam down onto the ground. Like that would be a great exercise in earning respect.
Yeah.
But let's be realistic about it. If I'm talking about, I'm not talking about 12-year-old, 13-year-old students. I'm talking VCE students. Mm-hmm. At 17, you're driving a car. You can join the army. Mm-hmm. You're doing things that carry way, way more risk and more danger towards other people as well. Whereas the things I'm talking about are, it's a self-responsibility to look after yourself, and for teachers to be trained on how to explain that to students. I don't know.
Good point.
That is fair, yeah.
Like, well, I don't know if in Australia, a little while ago, I got my firearms license, and I learned that you can be 16 here and have a firearms license. So
I think it might be 16 in Australia as well.
It probably is.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And there's obviously hoops to jump through. There's quite a lot of hoops to jump through to get there. But once you're there and you understand the rules, then that's all good. And so,
okay, here we go. Eligibility, Victorian eligibility for firearms license, 12 to 18 years old for a junior license. Right. So there you go.
But, what's a junior license? I just want a smaller gun that can kill people.
Probably limits caliber of rifle that you can use, and under a certain amount of supervision.
Yeah, but I mean, whether you got a 22 or a 20 mil, you're still going to kill people with that.
But like it sounds like a flippant argument, right? It sounds like a flippant argument. But we need a broad view of risk and what's helping people to grow as human beings and learn, and taking personal responsibility for your actions seems to me to be a great thing to teach. If you want to behave badly around tools, well, you're not going to be able to use them. But somebody, a student who I don't know, doesn't put themselves and other people in danger, yeah, you can use it. So then the student who can't use it has to observe the student who, I don't know. I will report back in. It's probably going to be around when we start doing the podcast again. Is when I'm starting that teaching placement. So it will be interesting to reflect back on this, and I go in thinking, I'm going to change the world, and then you're there and you go, actually, no, can't happen.
There's a lot of world to change.
But I think in particular with our subject, the enrollment numbers are dropping, and whether that's a reflection of design and technology not being advertised, for want of a better word, as an exciting subject, which prepares you for different trades and creative endeavors and things like that. There's definitely a shortcoming there at the minute. And the lack of teachers, they're all retiring, especially in that field. They've all reached 65 and they're just going, see you later, and they're not being replaced. So
I wonder if that's a broader economic issue though, where people in the 90s saw computers and IT and white collar work as the way to go. But as we talked about with Jem last week, as he single-handedly destroys our industry, that whole sector is going to come crumbling down in the next 20 years. So maybe we will have a rush back to the workshop. We'll see.
Yeah.
Cool.
And on apologies to everybody. I posted the Instagram post. I had it pre-written and posted it saying send in questions for the final show, and then it got posted the night before we're doing this record, so we're actually recording this early.
Yes, of course.
So anybody that has asked questions, we're not just ignoring you. Your questions are still valid, so we'll answer them next season.
We had to push this recording up, so we normally do it every 2 weeks. We've now done 2 in a row. This will still come out at the normal time, but apologies for that. We'll get onto that first episode next year, which will be around, depends when the clocks change, so it'll probably be March, April. That's normally when we come back.
Sweet.
Cool. All right, just before heading off, just wanted to say thank you again to all the people who do donate to the show as well. It's a really awesome thing, and we really do appreciate it. And just want to say thank you for that. We do have a donation link in the show notes if you want to jump on board with that. All the money does go back into the show.
Yes, thank you guys for that.
Thanks to all the guests that have come on as well, giving up their time and sharing their experiences. And I know that some people listen to us three just ramble on conversationally, but I know I personally get a lot out of the guest interviews and hearing different approaches to business and creative practice. I've always loved doing them. So yeah, thank you to everybody that's coming on, and thanks to you guys too. You know, this year has been, I've had a lot going on in my life, which I haven't really spoken about on the podcast. So yeah, thank you to you guys for all your support. And yeah, hopefully next year is a new start and a fresh start for me. But yeah, I just wanted to take a minute to say thank you to you guys, and thanks to the other people in the industry who have helped me and listened to me in the past year. And it's just one of those really important things that people harp on about, but men don't really talk enough about their problems. And you know, it is so important, and there will always be people out there to listen. So yeah, take your time, open up to people, and you'll find that they'll help, even if they don't provide you with the best advice. Sharing a problem is a problem halved, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
thank you guys.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely, man. That's
totally welcome.
That's what we're here for. I think, you know, we all started out as complete strangers and turned out to be a pretty tight group of friends, I would say. So that's our job. So I'm happy for that.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. All right, everyone. Well, signing off for 2025. We will see you again next year.
Okay. See you.
Have a nice summer, everyone.